What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about the newest released animated movie from DreamWorks. And DreamWorks is a company that I feel like has been kind of all over the place with their releases throughout the years. They've made some really incredible movies and some movies that I haven't been the biggest fan of, but it's a very interesting catalog. And I'll say, when I saw the trailer to this movie, I wasn't immediately thrilled to go see it. I didn't find the trailer to be super captivating. I thought the animation looked beautiful, but aside from that, I wasn't really certain. And then some of the early reviews came out that have been praising this thing like crazy. And of course, you sit back and you wonder, are people just hyping this up way more than it actually is deserving of, or is it really that good? And so I was excited to go in with an open mind and check this movie out. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot is directed by Chris Sanders. After a shipwreck, an intelligent robot called Roz is stranded on an uninhabited island. To survive the harsh environment, Roz bonds with the island's animals and cares for an orphaned baby goose. So I was very excited to watch this movie. Wasn't 100% sure as to what I was getting into, but was looking forward to it regardless. And this movie was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. And honestly, it's better than a lot of the recent Disney and Pixar stuff that we've been seeing. I feel like there was so much time and effort and energy put into the animation and the vocal performances and the story structure of this film and all the thematic elements that it explores. It's just very well made, and it explores themes that I think will resonate for adults and children alike, which is what I love so much about early Pixar work. And I feel like that's been kind of falling off over the years. But this movie in particular for DreamWorks, I just thought that it was a return to form with something like How to Train Your Dragon, where it's just a very immersive world that you don't want to leave. And I'm excited to tell you about the movie today. So at the beginning of the film, we are introduced to a robot named Roz that is voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, who we see is washed up on the shore of this island. And she wakes up, and we find out that her, as this robot, her only directive is to assist people. It's what she's been created for. So she's going around the island, and it's all animals. There's no people there. So she doesn't speak their language or anything. So she doesn't really know what to do. So she eventually sits down and says, I'm going to learn the language. And she spends all this time. We see a time lapse of her learning the language of the animals. And then she starts talking to them, and they're all horrified of her until one day she stumbles upon this egg, and the egg has been left abandoned. And she picks the egg up and can scan inside of it and sees that there is a baby gosling in there. And so she gets the egg and starts to take care of it. Well, one day she is approached by Fink, a fox played by Pedro Pascal, who initially wants to eat the egg, and she stops it from being eaten. The two form an unlikely friendship, and eventually the gosling is born. She names it Bright Bill, but she realizes that a gosling can't stay there through winter. The winter is too harsh for the geese, and so they're going to have a migration and leave. But because Bright Bill is the run of the litter, he has a harder time swimming and flying, and so her entire objective becomes teaching Bright Bill how to fly and swim so that he can participate in the migration, and the unlikely relationship between these three characters and the other animals that are on the island. So like I said, I thought this movie was phenomenal. For starters, the animation is just gorgeous. It's breathtaking. There were some scenes in it that I was just completely and totally blown away at how beautiful they are. The use of color in this movie is just amazing. There's so many vibrant shades of different colors in this, and the attention to detail in the island itself. It's just very easy to immerse yourself in this world and be invested from very early on, which is something that I always appreciated animated films. I've complained with Disney and Pixar over the past couple years that I feel like a lot of their animation feels very recycled. This movie feels very fresh, and that's what I liked so much about it. It felt like fresh and new and exciting in comparison to a lot of the stale animation that we've seen from some of these bigger companies over the years. The vocal performances here are phenomenal. I think Lupita Nyong'o is such an incredible actress, and she gives it her all in this movie. Pedro Pascal is great. Matt Berry shows up in this movie. Nick Connor, Stephanie Sue, Mark Hamill. Catherine O'Hara, even Ving Rhames is in this movie, and they all do an amazing job. They all have really distinct personality traits, which is something that I really liked about the movie a lot. It's paced really well. Outside of the opening, like 10 minutes, it's a little clunky when it's getting started, but once it settles in, it's really easy to invest yourself into. And what I love so much about this movie is it explores a ton thematically. Obviously, it's showcasing the beauty of nature and animals interacting with one another, and obviously technology impending on that, and technology interacting with those species. And like obviously you're thinking about big business and what it's trying to get out of creating these robots. But the one of the big takeaways I have from this movie is the idea of chosen family, and this robot raising this small gosling, and like it sees her as its mother. And throughout the film, Pedro Pascal's character Fink becomes very close to them, and a lot of the animals really start to band together. And so much of this movie is like, blood doesn't make you family. What makes you family is caring about the people around you. And then looking at these people, looking at these animals that come from all different places, that some are predatory, some only eat vegetation, but they all have to come together for a common goal in multiple moments in this movie. And I think that's a beautiful message for kids to see, that people come from all backgrounds and walks of life, and that no matter who they are, sometimes we have to overcome our issues for a common good. And I think that that's really a beautiful thing for children to see, and the way that the movie explores that is really wonderful. And I love the compassion towards animals and wildlife in this movie, and just how society infringing on animal habitats can make it so hard for animals to live. And there's just so many different themes that you can pull apart from this, or you can simply not unpack any of it and just enjoy it for what it is. And I think either way, you can really appreciate what this movie is going for. And I had a smile on my face through a lot of this until it made me cry in a couple of moments, which I was not expecting whatsoever. And it's just a really beautiful family film that if you've been kind of tired of animation recently, I'd highly recommend going and watching this, because it really felt fresh and new and very well done. So have you seen The Wild Robot? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was excellent. I loved it, and I already can't wait to see it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.